make mistakes and suffer with points deductions in the past, and Manchester United need to make sure they're not one of those sides that fall foul to the rules. But the good thing for them is they're not in Europe this season, and I say good thing because when you're in Europe, you have two sets of financial rules you have to respect. PSR from the Premier League and UEFA's FFP, Financial Fair Play. And they are very different rules, similar in one respect, but very different. But those teams in Europe have to make sure they abide by those FFP European rules. The fact that they don't have European football means they don't have to worry about it this season. However, they still have a PSR deadline of next year, so they have got time to make sure they make sales.
But they also don't want players in the squad that they don't want, do they? So who are the ones, Michael, that should be, or we think might be heading for the exit door?
Yeah, I think this is a club reset for Manchester United. It's unthinkable a club of United size not being in Europe. You just think this one season, it might do them a little bit of good. Let's talk about the players potentially on the way out. These are big names, more importantly, big wages. Let's start with Alejandro Garnacho, who Ruben Amorim's been quite vocal in the sense that he probably needs a fresh challenge. And who is the club they're expecting a formal offer from? And that club is Chelsea. And United want around £50 million. Now, United are aware of Chelsea's interest in the forward, and we know his future is likely to be away from Old Trafford. As we've reported, Chelsea are looking to sign Garnacho and Xavi Simons before the end of the window. So that's one key player potentially on his way out. Two more big names. One was a huge signing under Eric Ten Hag and Manchester United. It's just not worked out for him at all. But it did work out for him last season at Real Betis. They're pushing to still do this deal, but financially I think they're struggling at the moment. But United working with Betis to potentially do this deal. Anything United do, they want something with a permanent offer attached at the end of this. That includes Borussia Dortmund still trying to sign Jadon Sancho for a third time. But again, it comes down to these big players, big wages.
You meant Anthony there, didn't you?
Sorry, Anthony. Yes, my apologies.
Anthony mentioned. What about Hojlund? Is he going to go if Sesko comes in? What do we think?
I don't think there's a guarantee on that, is there? You know, look, this is still someone who's had a tough couple of years, but I still say did pretty well, Rasmus Hojlund, in his first season at Manchester United in the Champions League. I don't think there's a rush, but I do think there's a feeling if a club came in, maybe United would consider it.
Yeah, I think Manchester United have said to Rasmus Hojlund, look, you know, we like you, we respect you. He wants to stay at the football club. He wants to fight for his place. However, as we've been discussing, financially, sometimes the accountants have more control over the football club than the manager or the head coach because they need to make sure they balance the books. And if someone goes to Manchester United, we know there's a lot of interest from 3 or 4 sides in Serie A, as well as Saudi Arabia and other teams in the Bundesliga. So there are clubs that are queuing up saying, we'll take Rasmus Hojlund. And if the offer was suitable, Manchester United may say, OK, we have to accept this and we'd like you to move on. He was in the discussion to go to RB Leipzig when they were talking about Benjamin Sesko. So there has been dialogue there about a potential departure from Old Trafford. The player's stance is quite simple, but ultimately finances may dictate where he ends up this season. You could potentially see him going on loan with an option because he'll be told, look, you're not going to get much game time here at Manchester United. We haven't got European football, so therefore there's less games. You might be on the bench a bit. It might be advisable that you look elsewhere, and this could be the right opportunity for you.
You've got to say, though, Ruben Amorim's going to be absolutely delighted to get Cunha, which was done very early, and Mbeumo and Sesko all done in time for their opening Premier League match against Arsenal.
Absolutely. And on the Cunha thing as well, that was done at the beginning of the window in a different PSR accounting period. So whilst
Don't underestimate Manchester United. And that sentence was crucial because, yes, Benjamin Sesko wanted to go to Manchester United, agreed terms yesterday on a contract until June 2030. Today, around lunchtime, the agent of Sesko, Elvis Basanovic, arrived in Leipzig, and tonight he will travel together with the player, agent and player, to Manchester. Sesko doesn't want to wait one single minute. There was the possibility to go in the morning on Friday. No, I want to go immediately. This is what Sesko told his agent and told Manchester United. And so Sesko to United is done. How much Man United are going to pay? 76.5 million euros guaranteed, plus add-ons to bring the package up to 85 million euros. The 85 are almost guaranteed, guys, because the add-ons become really easy. So the point of negotiation in the last 24 hours between Manchester United and Leipzig was the structure of the add-ons, and now it's clear. It will be really easy add-ons, very easy to reach. And so Man United will end up paying 85 million euros to Red Bull Leipzig for Benjamin Sesko. 5-year contract for the player, as I told you. There will be a friendly game between Manchester United and Leipzig also at some point to raise some more money, and so with that money, to put that money to Red Bull Leipzig, and so bring the fee around 88 million euros. Also important to mention that the agent of the player and Benjamin Sesko himself had to reduce part of their salary in order to make the deal happen. So the commission of the agent and the salary of Benjamin Sesko have been slightly reduced during the negotiations to help Manchester United and facilitate the move. This is showing how much Benjamin Sesko wanted to go to Manchester United. Agreement done, the player is flying now to Manchester, and so new striker for Ruben Amorim is not over, because Manchester United now want to find a new midfielder on the market. That's the mission for Man United. For Baleba, I told you about this contact, this interest from Man United, speaking with the agents, player not closing doors to the move. I will tell you more in the next hours and days, but Manchester United are looking at midfielders on the market with several opportunities. Man United believe that the midfielder can be the next priority. The two positions they would love to cover before the end of the window are goalkeeper and midfielder. Then if they can do both, fantastic. Remember the name of Lammens at Royal Antwerp for the goalkeeper position, and then Emi Martinez, who can be expensive and so not easy at all. And then the midfielder, because Manchester United need more intensity there, need one more player, and Ruben Amorim is pushing internally to bring in a new midfielder. So it's not over. Man United can sign at least one more on the market.
Hojlund wants Serie A return as Milan make positive contact. Thursday's reports claim that Manchester United striker Rasmus Hojlund is sold on the idea of returning to Serie A this summer, and that Milan have recently opened talks with the former Atalanta forward, Hojlund, who left Atalanta in a deal worth €75 million plus up to €10 million in bonuses while Erik ten Hag was still in charge of Manchester United, is no longer a guaranteed part of the club's plans after an underwhelming first 2 years, a change in head coach and a transfer window that has brought 2, possibly 3 new attackers to Old Trafford. Milan, meanwhile, are prepared to pounce on the Denmark international, as the Rossoneri are in need of a new striker to compete and rotate with Santiago Gimenez, who is currently the only senior striker on the club's books. Milan, Italy, February 5. Santiago Gimenez of AC Milan acknowledges the fans following the Coppa Italia quarter-final match between AC Milan and AS Roma at Stadio Giuseppe Meazza on February 5, 2025 in Milan, Italy. Photo by Marco Luzani. Getty Images. Could Hojlund replace Vlahovic on Milan's wish list? While recent reports have indicated that Juventus's Dusan Vlahovic is a strong option for the Rossoneri, there is an increasing possibility that Hojlund becomes available for a cut price fee towards the end of the transfer window. Gazzetta dello Sport claims that Milan might be even more keen on Hojlund than they are on Vlahovic, due to a significant difference in the player's wage packets. Manchester, England. February 2. Rasmus Hojlund of Manchester United in action during the Premier League match between Manchester United FC and Crystal Palace FC at Old Trafford on February 2, 2025 in Manchester, England. Photo by Michael Regan. Getty Images. The Pink Paper adds that Hojlund is keen on returning to Serie A this window, and that initial contacts with Milan have been largely positive. Thursday's report claims that Manchester United will be prepared to listen to offers in the region of €34.3 million, £30 million, to €38.9 million, £34 million, this window. Rasmus Hojlund open to new adventure as AC Milan weigh up offer. Manchester United are edging ever closer to signing Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig, and that means Rasmus Hojlund could be heading out of the club very soon. Newcastle have admitted defeat in the race for Sesko, and the Red Devils even have their unveiling plans at the ready. Now it is up to the club to find an agreement during face-to-face talks today. As for the Dane, he was abysmal last season, struggling not only in front of goal but also with his overall gameplay. Ruben Amorim was desperate for reinforcements, and after missing out on multiple targets, Ineos finally seem to have their man. The 20-time English League champions are unlikely to keep the ex-Atalanta ace at the club, even though their number 9 has publicly revealed his desire to stay and fight for his place. AC Milan want Rasmus Hojlund. As per La Gazzetta dello Sport, the 22-year-old is slowly warming to the idea of returning to the Serie A, where AC Milan are showing concrete interest. There have been positive contacts between the Rossoneri and the Denmark international, and now, everything will depend on the deal Milan offer the English giant. The Italian side would prefer a loan with an option to buy, Similar to the deal United agreed with Barcelona for Marcus Rashford, but Ineos are unlikely to accept. Hojlund earns far lesser and they want a permanent solution. They are even prepared to take a PSR hit with the sale, with the co-owners open to offers around £30 million. Interestingly, Massimiliano Allegri wanted a reunion with Dusan Vlahovic, but his wage demands are considered significant, and Juventus are unlikely to relent till they have got their signings on board. United are more open to a sale right now, having already signed their quota of attackers. The Rossoneri now need a penalty box striker to complete their squad. Officially, there's no rush on the club's radar, as they understand that, as the weeks go by, those with surplus players will have to sell them at a bargain price. And negotiating Vlahovic with Juventus, once the Bianconeri have David and perhaps Kolo Muani in their squad, will certainly be easier than asking for the Serbian now. The same goes for Hojlund, but the timeline is shorter, given that United are now on the verge of completing the signing of Sesko, having already strengthened their attacking lineup with Cunha and Numo. The former Atalanta Dane, in short, is already surplus to requirements, Vlahovic not yet because at the moment he is David's alter ego. United want